I've bought myself another project, and this one's very broken, it was very cheap, and it's another BMW. Let's check it out. So this is an E63 650i, which means we've got a whopping 4.8 litre V8 under the bonnet. And here she is. Leaks and all. So this is an N62 B48. The N62 B44 was in the 645 Ci, which is basically like the model before this. It looks pretty much the same, but different engine, maybe different gearbox, I don't really know, to be honest. But yeah, I bought this whole car, this big beast of a car, for a mere £930. So let's have a look around the car and see why it was so ridiculously cheap. So let's start off with some of the good stuff. We've got full electric memory seats. Unfortunately these aren't heated, which I would have liked, but yeah, we've got full electric seats which all work fine. We've got a pan roof. This one just tilts though, it's not the tilt and slide, but it just tilts, and we've got a blind as well, and that all works properly. We also have an electric steering column, which is quite nice, but it basically has this comfort access type thing, so you know, when you put the key in it, see if it, there you go, so when you take the key out it returns to the top so you can get out of the car easier basically. We've got a 6-speed auto gearbox with a sport mode, whatever that does, and we've got BMW's first ever attempt at an iDrive system. We do have dual zone climate, but I think, yeah, I've only just realised this, that you have to actually go into the computer to change the air distribution. You've got automatic programs, independent mode, whatever that might be. That'll be one to work out when we finish the car, which we are a very long way off doing. The mileage has done 123,456 miles, which is really satisfying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as it sits here on my drive, in the garage even. But speaking of the iDrive, in this big wallet of service history, the whole iDrive system and the central control unit was replaced at some point at a cost of like £1,250 to whoever paid that. So that's good, because these have kind of been known to go, these and on the E65 series they can go, so I'm glad that's been replaced, although it is still a bit slow and laggy, but I guess that's just a almost 20-year-old computer system for you. Ah, a hidden compartment. Nothing in there though. Does this back one open up? Oh, it does. Oh wow, look at this. A surprise can of Coke. What's the date on that? Ooh, 2021. Should we try it? No. That can just go back in there for now. We also have power fold mirrors, and I mean, this isn't exactly an option or a standard feature, but pillarless doors. Don't know why, but pillarless doors have always been cool to me, and I've never owned a car that has doors like this. Weird thing, but I just think it's kind of cool. So we pull the seat forward and you have space for literally no one in the back. Let's see. Okay, the front seat's now in my driving position. Ooh. Roughly. Let's see if we can't fit in here. Oh God. Are you ready? Oh, I'm in just about. Knees are literally hitting the seat. Well, it feels like quite a big car from back here. Oh, and another problem I've just noticed with the interior. Let's go and check that one out. If I can get out. Come on. There we go. So obviously you have your headlining, it's basically the headlining, but this is completely coming off here. I guess I could probably just glue that on again somehow. But yeah, that's fully coming away. And the same on the other side, really. Hopefully it's not been damp in here or something, because hopefully the sunroof isn't leaking. Speaking of, it opens okay. But then you look up here, I don't know what's really going on with this. This looks torn. I'm guessing that should be a solid seal all the way along the edge, which is obviously not. It's very mossy. And speaking of seals as well, these window seals are completely dead, rubbish, gone. But that is not the biggest problem with the windows. The biggest problem with the window is this. That is a massive crack. So we're going to have a new windscreen put in. So that's why I'm not too bothered about the seals, because if I was replacing a windscreen anyway, I'd probably put new seals on. I mean, look at this. This is, oh dear, falling off. So yeah, that's pretty knackered. The mirror on this side's actually okay. But on this side we do have some, I think that's probably corrosion coming through. So hopefully we'll be able to sand that back and just repaint that gloss black. Another weird thing about this generation of BMW I've noticed, the window wipers go the opposite way to what you'd think. So normally on pretty much every cars they come up like that, but these go the other way, which is a bit weird, but there you go. A few different options of wheels you got standard with these cars. These I think are my favourite, and behind them we have some massive brakes. I think they will be 4-pot calipers. I don't think they'll be 6-pot, and I don't think they'll be single piston calipers. And I did check when I bought the car, I took the wheel off, and there's plenty of meat left on the pads, and there's literally like no lip on them discs at all. The same can't really be said for, there's a bit more of a lip on the rears, but they're definitely passing MOT with that. The other thing is the tyres, they are cracking around the edges here, which is not ideal, but there's just about enough tread to pass an MOT, I think. Which is good, because once we've tried to fix all the problems under there, we'll get an MOT on it, because naturally it doesn't have an MOT, because why would it? And yeah, once we've fixed those problems, we can then worry about stuff like that. Around the back, all pretty standard apart from this carbon boot spoiler. No idea how to tell if something is real carbon or not. This does look fairly real to me. If we get rid of some of the dust, it looks pretty good. And I actually kind of like it, you know. And I think without that little lift up, the back of the E63 just kind of looks weird. So yeah, I think the carbon boot spoiler kind of works with this car. And I don't know about you, but I've always been a bit kind of hit and miss with the looks of the E63. Now I've got one and it's here in the garage, I actually really like it, but I've always kind of thought these are really ugly at the same time. Like, it's really ugly, but I like it in that way. Especially from the rear. It's hard to get a good shot because I can't take it out of the garage for reasons which you will find out very soon. So there it is, the heart of the car, 4.8 litre V8, which is leaking from pretty much every place possible. Apart from the rocker covers, because they actually had new gaskets on not too long ago, but everywhere else is pretty much leaking. These Vanos solenoids down here are definitely leaking, and well, I put the car in the garage about a week ago, and this is the state of the cardboard that up underneath. So it could be worse, I suppose. There was also water on there. I don't know whether that's just rainwater that's come out or if it's from this, because this is another problem we've got. So yeah, it's looking pretty murky in there. Kind of brown, kind of sludgy. It's hard to get the torch and the camera in at the same time, but yeah, it's not looking great, which could be a sign of a blown head gasket, but we will see. Alright, so I thought, why not start taking some things apart. I think I'm going to remove the airbox so we can get a better look down there. Okay, missing a clip there. Oh. That doesn't look too bad. One airbox removed, which also seems to have some some sort of oily residue in the bottom. Dear, that's not very good, is it? Okay, before I go any further and I show you what's down there, you're probably wondering why I got this car so cheap. And basically, it's leaking oil from every single place possible, and the owner drove it home from work after he left it at work for a few weeks, around December time, and he drove it home and he had a low oil pressure warning come on the dash, and he's basically left it since. So I seen this advertised on Marketplace for £2,500, and I thought 650i for £2,500, that sounds like too good to be true, and normally it is. So I went to have a look with a mate of mine who's actually a proper mechanic, not like me, and we deciphered that potentially it skipped the timing on the engine, because when we went to view it, it ran like this. So when we first turned up, we checked the oil on the dipstick and it was completely dry, and I mean not even a tiny speck of oil on the dipstick. So we put 4 litres in, because that's all that, I didn't have any with me, and that's all the seller had. So we put all of that in, and there was just a bit just on the bottom of the dipstick, just enough to kind of start it and see what we're dealing with really. So we started it, it ran like that, and we had a look into the cylinders with a bore scope just to see if it had gone so badly out of time that we were having pistons hitting valves, because that's really bad. And the top of the pistons looked okay. I checked a couple of I only checked cylinder number 2 on this side, which I think is 7, or is it 6, forgotten which way it goes, and I checked the first couple of cylinders on that side and they were all okay really. I will check every single cylinder with the bore scope probably in the next episode, I think. But yeah, we looked okay in that department. So after reading a bit on the forums, I found that with these engines, if they're starved of oil, they can jump the timing. And there's many ways they can be starved of oil, is if it all leaks out from many places. So, first one is the valve cover gaskets, which were changed on this car. I mean, that was probably a contributing factor beforehand, because these were changed fairly recently. The bracket that holds the alternator has a seal in it, which is a known failure. It's happened on loads of cars. And when I show you down here in a second, you'll see that it's definitely been leaking from that area. Another one is upper timing covers. So once you remove all this stuff, it's basically these bits here. That can leak as well. And another one, which is I can see is leaking on here, we've got where the Vanos solenoids go into the engine. There's 2 on each side. The Vanos solenoids have 2 rubber seals, I think it's 2 seals on it, and they're known to leak as well, and those 2 are leaking. Now my mate brought a snap-on tool, which you can scan for the codes with. So we plugged it in, and these are the codes that come up. Misfires on all cylinders basically, and I can't actually remember, was it Vanos? And yeah, so basically we kind of guessed that it had skipped timing. But after that, the seller still wanted about £2,000 for the car at least. And I was just like, do you know what? I'm not going to take that risk of spending £2,000 on a car that's very broken really. Because he was saying he'd already had other messages on Facebook Marketplace from people saying I'll give him 1,800, take it now, and stuff like that, and I was at £1,000 for this really. He also said I could just break it for parts for more than that. Bearing in mind this guy had already told me that he is not a car guy, he knows nothing about cars, sort of thing, and I was thinking, do you know what, you're not going to break this car. So I literally said to him, I messaged him later and I said, when you realise that everyone on Marketplace is just out to waste your time, and when you realise it's not a piece of cake to break a car and sell all the bits, message me back and we'll make a deal. A couple of weeks later, he messages me back. Go and get the car for £930. And here we are. So you can see just down there, behind that pipe, is the alternator, which does look to be covered in oil, which isn't good. And moving along there, come on light, that looks like the engine mount sort of bracket, which is also covered in oil. And it might be very difficult for you to see this, but if you look right down to the bottom, you can pretty much see the under tray, which is absolutely covered in oil as well. Looking around the front, throttle body just needs a bit of a clean up really. There's fresh oil underneath those Vanos solenoids like I said before. Let's try and zoom in down there. This coolant pipe looks a bit dodgy to me. Don't know what's going on there. But they basically, I think those sort of marks, this coloration basically is just from all the heat cycles and stuff, as that's probably the original hose. So we'll probably, I mean, if we get it running and all that, we'll probably do a full cooling system overhaul after we get it sorted, you know. Literally a puddle of oil down there on the under tray. I think that's probably power steering line down there as well. It looks a little bit crusty. Belt doesn't look too bad. Probably change that as preventative maintenance anyway. And another place where we can lose a lot of oil is beneath this here, which I believe is a vacuum pump. There is an oil pressure switch which is known to go, and when that goes you lose a load of oil out of there. And when I was googling before I even went to view the car, a lot of people have just had low oil pressure warnings from the pressure switch being faulty. So that was me thinking, imagine if I get this car dead cheap and just put a new pressure switch in and it works. But yeah, I think we're beyond that being the issue, considering how it ran. And the chief inspector's come to have a look. What do you think, dog? What do you think? Eh? She says, what the hell have you done, you idiot? Alright, I'm going to leave the engine bay as it is for now, because in the next episode I want to do a deep dive and basically take the whole thing apart and try and properly diagnose what we've got wrong. I basically want to check the timing, do a compression test, stuff like that, and I want to remove the lower oil pan, which we will have a look at now. I won't take it off now, but I'm going to remove it and see if there's anything there that shouldn't be, like bits of timing chain guides or anything like that, because if it's out of time, that could mean the chain is stretched or the guides are broken, because other people have found bits of timing chain guides in the low oil pan. But for now, I want to jack the car up and just kind of have a look underneath and see what we're looking at. I did have a quick look when I bought the car and it seems okay, and we may have a little surprise behind these wheels. Okay, so I've just come under the car to carry on jacking it up, and look what I've found. That is a H&R anti-roll bar. I'm guessing it'll be the same on the rear. I did not know it had them, and neither did the guy selling the car, so that is a massive bonus, because that'll really help with the handling. And basically, worst comes worst, if I can't get this engine running, I'm going to park this car out, so hopefully they'll be worth a little bit. So these tyres aren't actually as bad as I first thought. It's a fair bit of tread left, but yeah, cracking around the edge. Yeah, look at the size of these brakes. I mean, it's a big car, isn't it? With a lot of power. And I think that's a spacer. It's not bolted in, but it's not exactly coming off very easy. Now, the thing that I noticed when I went to view it is we have H&R springs on here. So I don't know if they're springs on the standard shocks. So I don't know if H&R do coilovers as such. But yeah, I didn't notice the anti-roll bar, the H&R anti-roll bar, which is great. But I mean, everything in here looks pretty tidy, really. That brake pipe looks, is that brake? Yeah, that brake pipe looks a bit corroded, but nothing to worry about at the moment. Pads seem to have plenty of meat left on them. Discs have no lip at all on the front. Oh, and I've just noticed this front splitter is actually a Maxton design one. I thought it was a cheapo eBay one, because I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't feel the best quality, but I actually quite like how it looks. And yeah, Maxton design, they have a good reputation. Aha. Both under trays removed. If we look on this second one, we have some rather worrying looking substance. That looks like oil and water, or oil and coolant has mixed together, which is not good. So let's hope we just happen to have a coolant leak and an oil leak. So, underside here we have a absolutely mint looking H&R anti-roll bar, which I'm really happy about. Those bushings look pretty decent as well, they were probably changed at the same time. There's a bit of grease around that one. Don't know if that's just oil or what, but yeah, bottom of the alternator there, caked in oil. There's oil pretty much everywhere. This here looks like a mixture of coolant and oil, so maybe the radiator's leaking, because that's just above the radiator, I think. Seems to be a bit of water on there. I wonder if that's where the coolant's coming from. So yeah, we have a lot of we have a lot of stuff to do in the next episode. Just me who's seeing this, right? this funny looking under tray. So yeah, it looks like this engine's leaking from just about every orifice it has. So we're going to leave that episode here, and then in the next episode we're going to take a real deep dive into the engine and try and find out what is actually wrong with this car. And I think the list is going to be pretty big. I think at this point, providing the internals aren't completely knackered, it basically just needs a full overhaul. All seals doing, the cooling system needs doing. It needs a lot of money spending on it, really. And to be fair, I didn't spend a lot of money on buying the car, so we'll see what happens. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and leave a comment if you know about these engines and know what could possibly be wrong with the car, because I'm not a mechanic. I have pretty much no idea what I'm doing, and I'm just using the forums and YouTube and everything to kind of work out what the hell's going on with this car. So yeah, join me in the next episode, subscribe, leave a comment, and do all that stuff.